What's up, everybody? Welcome to another group review. Got Perry here to the right of me, Eric in the back. This is for a pretty big movie that we've all been highly anticipating. Sorry, get this camera quick. This one is for Tarantino's newest film called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Al Pacino. Who else is in this?
Timothy Olyphant, Luke Perry.
Huge cast, I guess is the point I'm trying to get at.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
Zoe Bell, who's in a lot of Tarantino films.
Yeah.
Michael Madsen, or did you say that already?
No, I didn't say that.
Michael Madsen's also in this. Yeah, the cast is just enormous.
Yeah, so huge cast, huge film. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I think if you go into this expecting kind of a, like, right out of the gate high-powered Tarantino film, you might be a little upset walking out of it, because it's not a film that starts in the way that you would expect a Tarantino film to really start. But everything that you really love about Tarantino is still present in this film, in my opinion. Incredible performances, especially from, obviously, Brad Pitt and Leo. Both did a phenomenal job in this. Honestly, I think Leo should be in the talks of getting nominated for something.
Definitely.
Because he was really great in this. Brad Pitt was awesome for the role that he had. He has a really interesting third act moment in this film, which was awesome.
He was my standout favorite, personally.
Oh, yeah,
same here. Easily my standout.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did not expect that.
I loved Brad Pitt throughout the whole movie.
Oh, yeah, same here.
But DiCaprio did awesome, too, obviously.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, for me, I gotta say that I really enjoyed this film. Definitely, there's no question about that. There's a lot of aspects of this film that I really enjoy. Obviously, the thing that people really love about Tarantino films are, well, I guess, is his writing and his dialogue. And, you know, the dialogue is still there, but I will say that it's not as hardcore Tarantino dialogue that you would expect. But it gets definitely, it gets definitely heavy with the amount of cuss words and style that it drops. It's definitely still there, but it's not as, in-your-face Tarantino style. But it's definitely still there. But one thing that I will say is that this also doesn't have as much violence as you would expect.
No.
Nah.
But I gotta say, it still also delivers on that in a way.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, it definitely still finds a way to incorporate that insane Tarantino kind of violence, but definitely more tame in this. But it definitely delivers, and I gotta say, it's still good. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, for me, I really enjoyed it. But honestly, if it wasn't for its incredible third act, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, I didn't want to fall into that trap, because the third act for this movie is probably my favorite. I'm obviously not going to spoil what happens. I think it'll be a nice surprise for anybody walking into it. But if it wasn't for that third act, I'd be a little less keen on it too. It wouldn't ruin the whole movie or anything, but I wouldn't be as excited about it.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way.
You want to say anything else about it, Perry? By the way, huge Tarantino fan here.
Oh, yeah, he's my favorite director. I love all of his films, and I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, because I know a lot of people don't like Tarantino.
Most people love him.
But
nowadays, I don't know, but go ahead.
It's interesting, because he's one of those filmmakers who doesn't just appeal to, like, hardcore film lovers. A lot of casuals like his movies, too. But it's like, I can understand, like, I'm not saying his films are perfect. Like, I have criticism with all of them, except Pulp Fiction, because that film is literally perfect.
Well, yes.
It's a masterpiece.
But, and I definitely have some criticisms with this film, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I was so excited for this film, and it was really hard to fight the hype and everything. But one thing I want to say to everybody who watches this film is, don't go into this film expecting it to be a film that's a 2019 film. Think of it as a 60s film, because that's really what Tarantino made, was a 60s film with the pacing of 60s movies. Because a lot of, like, 60s films, the pacing back then was a lot slower than it is now. Because now, like, we have to have everything in the first 10 minutes. Modern audiences are spoiled. But I love how this film, like, really took its time to develop the characters and make you feel the chemistry between Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, and all the supporting performances are, for the most part, really good. Like, Al Pacino definitely left a big impression on me. Everybody that Tarantino uses, like, I think he uses them to their max potential.
For sure.
Without, like, trying to shoehorn them way too much in the movie.
Yeah, one thing that I also think, like, people need to kind of prepare for before going into this is that don't expect a normal, like, Tarantino story plot driven film.
Right.
It's a pretty simple film.
Yeah, this is a pretty
narratively.
Yeah, this is yes, exactly. It's a very, like, simplistic narrative, but usually with Tarantino's films, they're not really simplistic. Usually, people go to a Tarantino film to get a really, like, incredible story. Like, they want that storytelling aspect, and this one really doesn't have that. It's just a really cool, like, character piece where you kind of follow different characters in this film, and they all have their own, like, thematic relevance to themselves and to the story. But one thing that I will say in terms of criticism is that, I don't know, I felt like Margot Robbie's character was a little redundant for the film.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because, like, and by the end of it, like, once the film is, like, all done, I was kind of trying to go back on it and say, well, maybe, she has some more, like, she has some more relevance in the story, but honestly, the whole movie could have been done without Margot Robbie's character, and you probably would have gotten the same thing out of it.
Right.
And, like, that's fine. I get that, Tarantino, just, again, he wanted to just have, like, a character, maybe slice of life approach that's not really, trying to aim for anything that's narratively relevant. But Margot Robbie's character just felt like, I don't know, it just felt really needless. I mean, it was cool. Like, it's not like her scenes were boring or anything. And by the way, this film I didn't find this film boring. I can see maybe a handful of people finding this film to be boring.
Yeah, definitely.
Just because it's not plot driven. But Margot Robbie's character just didn't seem to have much purpose for the story, and not even for much theme either. It just seemed like it was sidelined, and it was just there just to have character moments, but with no real purpose.
My biggest guess is the reason why he wanted to make this film and make it seem like a fairy tale, calling it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh, and also don't go in expecting, like, an accurate portrayal of, like, the Manson murder, because obviously with a title like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like, there's a lot of, like, obviously, like, historical inaccuracy that Tarantino changed around on purpose, to service the story, which is nothing that bothered me. I'm just saying, don't go in expecting, like, an accurate portrayal of the Manson murders. But also I want to say is, like, I think he's trying to express the naivete of, like, actor and filmmakers and everyone that's in the business that think they can ride so high for so long and aren't really, like, prepared for, like, their career to crash.
Yeah.
Because, like, Margot Robbie, even though she played, like, in small roles and whatnot, it's like she was really naive because she thought I feel like her character was like, things are going to be great always.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an actress. People know who I am. Like, there's no downside to that.
I think naivety is definitely something that Tarantino wanted to portray out of her character.
Yeah.
Somewhat. Especially, like, with the scene with her at the theater for the first time.
Right.
Like, it comes off that way.
With Leo's character, I think it was more, I think it's more of, like, the selfish nature of, like, actors and people in the industry, because, like, Brad Pitt was supposedly, like, his best friend, but he really just treated him like a lackey, I
feel like they all complemented each other in a way. I don't know about, again, Margot Robbie's character, I don't know, it seems like something that's just kind of there and doesn't seem to really connect much.
Yeah, definitely.
Besides the ending and how they connected there. But when it comes to Leo's character and Brad Pitt's character, I don't know, I really loved their dynamic.
Definitely.
They had great chemistry in the film.
It was never ham-fisted either. Everything was just like left up, like, hey, it shows them and their personal lives, and you can just interpret, like, you can just make your own conclusions, like, okay, this person's like this person's like that, and obviously one is dealing with issues that the other isn't, and vice versa.
Yeah, one negative, like, and this is a huge negative, and I actually hate this aspect of this film, is Kurt Russell's voiceover narration. That fucking bothered me so much.
Was that Kurt Russell? I didn't know.
Yeah, that was Kurt Russell's voice. My God, it bothered me so much.
Without spoiling too much, you can just say there is voiceover in the film, and I guess Barry doesn't think it was used well.
Not at all.
I don't either.
Yeah, not at all, because like it'll literally show the actors, like you can see what the actors are doing, but they add in Kurt Russell's like voice and telling the audience what the actors are doing. It's like, this is cinema. We can clearly see what they're doing. We don't need your voiceover.
One other thing about his narration that annoyed me is that it wasn't consistent through the film.
Not at all.
It happened quickly, like in the first 10 minutes, and then you don't hear it ever again until like the last 30 minutes. And it's like, I don't know. It just is weird. I mean, I get it. It's like a stylistic choice from Tarantino, but I just don't think
he just does his own thing.
Yeah, it didn't really work for me.
Hats off to Leo, because if you think about it, he had to play like 2 characters. He had to play multiple characters.
I thought about that a lot.
Because not only did he have to play like Rick Dalton, the actor, but he had to play like the characters he was trying to portray in the TV shows. Yeah, in the film.
And you can tell that Tarantino has like his trademark style still, because in the film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you see a lot of like scenes from those movies inside this movie,
right?
And they're very reminiscent of like a Tarantino Western, of the very strong and tension building dialogue.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it's like broken up, because it's like in this film it's like they're filming it, so you see like all the breaks in between and everything. It's just really interesting. So you can tell Tarantino still got it, but this is just clearly a very different project from what he's made in the past.
It's funny because like with Tarantino, it's like with this film, it's like it shows Tarantino's awareness of like his like impact on, you know, the film industry, but he's also thinking about like his future and pondering like the film industry is changing so much, and it's always changing. Will I always be relevant? Will I always be something that the public wants, you know? And it kind of scares me to think about living in a world where people don't want to see Tarantino films the way they wanted to in the 90s and the early 2000s, you know?
I respect Tarantino for like not wanting to burn out and like take a Steven Spielberg fucking route.
Definitely.
And just churn out like misses. So he's like, you know, he wants to end strong. This isn't like his last movie, but his next movie will be his last movie, because he doesn't want to make shit films.
Right, and it's crazy because he's never turned out a dud. Like, he's never made a bad film, and with this film it's no exception. Like, this is a really good movie, and I feel like the more I watch this movie, the more I'll appreciate it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
Yeah, because like I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like the first, even like more than like when it was a bit over halfway through this film, I was like, I really don't know if I really like this film all that much.
That's
like,
what I was thinking too.
Like I know that it's not bad or anything. I wouldn't, like, even at that point I wouldn't call it a bad movie, but like a little over halfway I was like, I don't know, man, this is like, not, again, I'm not bored or anything, but it just seems like, I don't know, it seemed quite lacking in a few ways, in terms of me being like truly engaged and truly invested, or me caring about any kind of conflict, because there's almost barely any conflict throughout this entire film until like maybe the third act. That's when you get like a genuine like conflict happening, and even then it's like kind of like a random conflict where things just happen, but it's still really entertaining and directed very well.
Yeah. For sure.
But this film doesn't give you much conflict to grab onto and like, you know, see get resolved or whatever. Like there's not much of that. Again, it's a very unforgiving character piece for a long time, and then finally it kind of gives you what you would hope to get out of a full Tarantino film in that third act. And I thought that third act really brought the film home and made it really good.
That's how I felt, yeah.
Because if it really wasn't for that third act, I don't even know, like, I would have probably just brushed it off and maybe gave it like a 6 out of 10 or something, because I was like, I don't know. Like, it's a little lacking in terms of at least what I know what like Tarantino is capable of.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, did y'all want to say anything else? Because you want to go ahead?
I wanted to talk about my favorite aspect, which it probably has to be the production design for this film, because this film encapsulates the time, the late 60s, early 70s, I think, it does it so well. It's such a gorgeous looking movie, and everything just feels so real. You really
Yes.
feel like you're part of the time, and you're like with these characters. It never feels phony for a second.
Yeah, not at all.
Besides the crisp production, sorry for cutting you off. Besides like the crisp production of like a modern 2019 film, it really feels like a late 1960s film.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything before we give a grade? Because I'm ready.
One last thing I'll say is I feel one last thing I want to say about this film is I feel like I can make what I said earlier about the more I watch this film, the more I'll appreciate it. I feel like it's like that with every Quentin Tarantino film I've ever seen. The more I watch his films, the more I appreciate them. You know, like I loved Pulp Fiction the first time I saw it, but the more I watch it, I'm like, this is one of the greatest films ever made. Period. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly really enjoyed this. Like it really gave me what I wanted.
It's not disappointing for me. Like, it's not disappointing. There was a point in this film where I did think it was a little upsetting, but by the end of it, I think it's really worth it. It's worth your time.
Definitely.
It's worth your money. It's definitely a Tarantino film worth watching. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's got great performances, really good character writing, dialogue. Again, my only problems with it is I think Margot Robbie's character was kind of needless and, you know, maybe could have been put in a way that doesn't feel like so unnecessary to the story or characters.
Right.
And also, again, it takes quite a long time for any kind of real conflict to happen for you to really like invest yourself in and care about. But other than that, I think it's a really, really damn good film, and I would say don't expect, to have that high-powered Tarantino energy right when right when the film starts, because it's definitely not going to give that to you. So, so out of 10, I'm going to give Once Upon a Time in Hollywood I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10.
Well, I also found this movie pretty enjoyable, and I also feel for Perry like I'm probably going to enjoy it the more times I watch it. But unlike other Tarantino films, like every Tarantino film I've seen, like I like immediately love. The Hateful Eight was that way, Inglourious Basterds, blah blah blah. And this one I'm not like immediately in love with it, but I'm sure I'll enjoy it more. The Margot Robbie thing, I can definitely sympathize with that, and I do feel that. But I feel like my big issue with this movie is I could have used like just maybe a little bit more character building scenes. I know like that's weird for me to say because that was like most of the film. But I just like there were some scenes where I was like, what am I really getting from this character that's not, I don't know. I wanted more, a little bit more like rich and substantive character scenes.
I mean, I can feel you on that.
But I really loved it I really enjoyed it overall. And I'll definitely watch it again. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10, alright.
Interesting. Well, a lot of people say when they watch this film they didn't really feel the tension. It's like I can understand that, but I definitely felt some tension because Tarantino, he does the Hitchcock thing. He shows you the bomb and he makes you wait for it to go off. In this film, you're really waiting for the bomb to go off. But once it does, it's really satisfying. I really enjoyed this movie, but just for the moment, I'm gonna give it an 8.3 out of 10.
Alright.
Yeah.
Fair enough. If I could pause on that one, you're like, 8.3. It's gotta happen, man.
Keep in mind, I don't use the decimal system, so when I say 7, it's not like it's a low 7. It's actually it's a strong 7, I think, for me.
Strong, hard 7 for Eric.
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Well, yeah, that's it, guys. That's what we gotta say about Tarantino's 9th film, right?
Yep.
The 9th film, yeah.
So, yeah. We really enjoyed it. I don't know if we enjoyed it as maybe some other people, because I heard that some other people, like, they were saying that it's one of his best. I don't think it's one of his best. Right now, at this point, I maybe put it, like, middle tier, maybe, when it comes to his films. But either way, I really enjoyed it, and we all enjoyed it, so.
It's my least favorite so far, but I haven't seen Death Proof or Jackie Brown. So
I think I like this more than both movies, which a lot of people would probably blow my head off for, but that's what I have to say.
I don't think so. I think they would agree it's at least fair enough. I mean, as long as you're not putting it above like fucking Pulp Fiction or
Oh
shit.
no, nah, not even in the
I
same
watched
league.
Pulp Fiction, rewatched it again last night, can clarify its masterpiece.
Yeah.
All right, well that's it, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this
thank
video and hearing our thoughts on Tarantino's new film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.